Howdy everyone, Norman McFadden here. I got this little YouTube channel that's called The Storyteller. And every Monday I tell stories out of my books. Urban Legends of Leeper Holler 1 and 2. Then Urban Legends of Lincoln County, Missouri 1 and 2. Today the story is coming out of Urban Legend of Leeper Holler, number 2. And, your response has been really good on here. And I'm going to do something that might seem a little strange, but you become a subscriber to this YouTube channel. When we reach 100 subscribers, I will tell a story that's never ever been wrote in a book. It may be later. It'll be the first time it's told when we reach 100. So push that button. Subscribe to us now. This story tonight is called Vision of Hell. And when I was a little boy, that's mostly what Legends of Leeper Holler is. It's about my childhood, what I done when I was young. Kind of like a Tom Sawyer book. I think you'll enjoy it a lot if you buy it and read it. It's got a lot of legends in it because when I was a little boy, I didn't run around and play with the other kids too much. I kind of got with the older people that was playing checkers on the porch and talked to them and found out things that happened in the past, because we got to know what happened in the past and what mistakes they made so we don't make the same ones. But tonight, the Vision of Hell, and I was called Little Mac when I was little. And I love preaching. Oh man. When I was a little boy, I'd preach at anybody. Anybody that listened, I'd preach at them. I didn't care who they was. I'd just walk up and start preaching. So, the year this story started was November 20th, 1965. And there was a boy that lived up the street from us. He was my brother's best friend, and we called him Little Boy. And he was there that night at our house trying to get my dad to go out spotlighting. Now, when you go out spotlighting, you ride on the back of a big old log truck. That's what we did anyway. And we went to the Nipper Woods where there was a lot of wild creatures, no houses or nothing. And we spotlight them, shoot them, bring them home, skin them, and eat them. And that's what Little Boy was trying to get my dad to do. And Dad said, no, I don't want to tonight. I'm too tired. I'm wore out. I don't really want to go tonight. So Little Boy, he said, all right. He said, I'll find something else to do, I guess. So you could see the sadness in his face when he said that. You knew he was disappointed. But he ran out the door and slammed it. You could hear the whole house shake and slam it so hard. But something that night made me want to go after Little Boy and talk to him. Now, he was quite a bit older than me. I was 11 years old at that time. And in 2 days, I would have been 12. I'd be 12. But something was pushing me that night to go talk to him. And I felt the Holy Spirit before, the Holy Spirit of God telling me to do something. So I knew not to resist. So I went out the door and I caught up with him. I said, hey, Little Boy. I said, my birthday's going to be in 2 days. For my birthday, why don't you come to church with me and my mom? He said, I don't need all that stuff. I said, what do you mean you don't need all that stuff? He said, I don't need that church. He said, I'm going to party with my friends while I live here on earth. And then when I die, I'm going to go to hell and I'm still going to party with my friends. I said, no. I said, little boy, that's not the way heaven's going to be. I said, you're not going to be partying. It's going to be burning you. It's going to be crying out for help. You're going to be wanting somebody to save you. You're not going to be partying. He said, why? How do you know, little Mac? How do you know that's what it's going to be like? I said, well, I thought for a minute. Because the Bible tells me. He said, who wrote the Bible? I said, I told him God's disciples. And he said, well, man did. He said, man wrote it. He said, man can be wrong. And he took on off down the road. I seen his shadow just going out of sight because it was getting dust. But I still ran after him. And I said, please. After I caught up, and I said, would you go to church? It make me happy for my birthday. I'll be 12 years old. He said, okay, little Mac. He said, I'll consider it. If you go on back home and leave me alone, I'll consider going to church with you again. So, I said, okay. I went on back home. And that night when I went to bed, I had trouble going to sleep. I tried to go to sleep. I just couldn't go to sleep all night. I mean, I just laid there and rolled, tumbled. About 12 o'clock, I think I fell asleep for a minute or two. And I was woke up by a light, a bright light coming from the sky. It came right down through my window. And as it got closer, I looked in it and I seen a figure. And it was a person in that bright light. It got right above my bed. And I could see it when it came, looked down at me, that it was little boy. And he stretched his hand. He said, take my hand. I was scared to death. I wasn't going to take his hand. Somebody just floated through my window without breaking it, So I said, nothing. I just laid there. And a voice. I heard a voice. And the voice says, take his hand. So I reached up. I took his hand. And the moment I took his hand, we started floating. I floated out of my bed. I floated right up out of my bed. And then we floated through that window without breaking it, went up in the sky. We were way above the sky, above the earth, looking down on the earth. And I seen millions of little holes in the earth. I mean, just holes everywhere in the earth. And we started getting closer and closer to them holes, and I seen flames flying up out of them holes. I go, where are you taking me? What's going on here? And he wouldn't say a word. We flew over them holes and flames were flying out of them. Then I started hearing screaming and crying for help. I knew it was loud. And it was ringing in my ears. It was so loud, somebody crying. I didn't know. Then we floated down lower and lower and lower, and we got down within about 15 feet of the top of them holes and flying over. And flames were flying out of them. And I could make it out about 20 feet down in them holes. They was some kind of figure. I didn't know what it was. We came to this one hole. We hovered over that hole. I looked down in the hole, flames were flying. I said, what? Take me home. I don't want to be here. I do not want to be here. Why are we here for? And little boy took me closer and closer. I felt the flame. I could smell the burning flesh in that hole. And as we got to the top of the hole, the flames parted. But it was so hot, it felt like my face was melting. We got about halfway down, about 10 feet in that hole. And I could see down there, it was a little boy in the hole. And the moment I seen it was a little boy in the hole, whatever was holding me, let go and disappeared. And I hovered over about 10 feet. And little boy looked at me and he said, "You was right, little Mac. You was right. I'm not partying. I'm not having fun. I'm here for eternity in this hole. And I don't know what to do." He said, "It's too late to do anything." And the moment he said that, I started falling. I said, Lord, I don't want to be here. Take me home." And I heard a knock at my door and it woke me up. It was a knock at the front door. And I looked around. I was still in my room. I was still in my room, in my bed. I heard my dad get up and he said, "Who in the Sam Hill is at the door this late at night?" With a few curse words added, which I'm not going to add. And he walked to the front door and I kind of snuck behind him. It was Clyde, our neighbor who lived up the road. He said, "Come on, Otis." Otis, my dad's name. He said, "Come on, you got to go. We got to go. The two boys down the end of the road had a car wreck. We need to go down there now. Right at this moment, we need to go." Dad said, "You just hold the Sam Hills down now. I'm going to go get dressed." So while Daddy was getting dressed and sticking on his clothes real quick, I stuck my clothes on. And Dad went to the door, and him and Clyde took off down the road, and I snuck behind them. Far enough behind they couldn't see me, because I wanted to see what was going on. And we lived in Leeper Holler. And a holler, just in case you guys don't know what it is, because that's kind of country slang, a hollow is a valley that's between two big giant hills. And at the end of the hollow, it was about a half a mile where we lived, down the end of the hollow, there's a highway. As soon as you get to the highway, there's a straightaway. Don't go very far on the straightaway. Then there's a steep curve. I followed my dad down through there, and Clyde said, come on. There's one stuck in the car. And they got up to where the car was, and the car, you could see where the car skidded. It had black tire marks up the road where it skidded. They went up the hill, but they couldn't make the curve, and they hit a tree. The moment they hit that tree, it flipped over on its top, and that's where it was sitting. And when they hit that tree, it flew this one boy out, and he hit his face on the blacktop and skidded about 10 feet, maybe 6 feet up the road on his face. The other one was still in the car, hollering to get out. So I stayed a little bit back because I didn't want Dad to see me, because I knew Dad would be mad. I looked around, I seen at least 6 beers bottles laying there beside the car. So that I knew they was drinking. And I seen blood all up the highway where that one boy was laying. You could smell the oil from the car. You could see the beer and the oil and the blood all running together. It smelled horrible. It was one of the horrible smells I ever smelled. They finally pulled the door off. They took them a lot of work. They got a stick and everything else. They got it open, and they drug this boy out and they carried him over to the grass. and set them down. They ran up the road to help that other boy that was on the highway. I walked up to it. It was the boy, and it was Ronnie, one of the boys that lived up the hollow from us. I knew. He was beat up a little bit, had a few bruises on him, but he looked like he was going to be all right, you know. So here I went up the highway, right up on the hill right above my dad and Clyde, as they were picking up this boy on the highway, and they turned him over. His face was almost gone where he skidded up that highway. But I could see it and recognize that it was my brother's best friend, little boy. And I heard Dad say, he's dead. And I froze. I just froze right there in I could not move. And I was so, I said, little boy, you gave me a vision of hell. Little boy was only 18-year-old. But get this book. It's got a lot of stories in it. It's called Legends of Leeper Holler. They're not all scary. It's kind of like a Tom Sawyer book. If you ever read Mark Twain, a lot of my writing's kind of like Mark Twain. So I'm glad you guys are tuning in. I got a lot of people watching me last week, and I'm going to put a new story on here every Monday from one of the books. So keep tuning in. Subscribe at 100 subscribe. I will tell a story that's never been wrote, never been told, and you'll hear it for the first time. This is Norman McFadden signing off.